What I want to talk about on today's call is the state of marketing, the power of focus, Facebook advertising, the best 3 sales questions, video marketing, the importance of faces.
This call is being recorded.
What I want to talk about on the call today, guys, is the power of habit. I remember when I used to drop my daughter and son off in Brooklyn at their Catholic school, and the head nun there, she was so intimidating. And this one time she told a story because a lot of the people were dropping their kids off late, which it's tough. A lot of times in Brooklyn, you're using public transit, you're trying to get to school and it's freezing outside. And I remember one time she said, she was addressing the parents, not the kids. She said, guys, if you're late to pre-K, you're going to be late to kindergarten. And if you're late to kindergarten, you're going to be late to 5th grade. You're going to be late to high school. You're going to be late to college, and you're going to be late to work. So if you want to not be late to work, if you want your kids to be great workers, they need to be on time to pre-K. And it's because you're building those habits as a kid. You know, I know my wife, she makes fun of me a lot. She says that I dress like a Simpsons character, meaning I basically wear almost the exact same thing every day. I wear usually a black t-shirt, gray shorts, and bright red shoes. And so when I'm actually, getting ready in the morning, I don't put a whole lot of thought into that. When I actually go from, getting ready for a work day at the office versus getting ready to go on stage, the only thing that changes is my jeans. I wear the same jeans, the same Jordans, the same shirt. And it was interesting. I read a bunch about the president. Whether it's Obama or Trump or the presidents of the past, their decisions are all made for them. They don't wake up and figure out what to wear. There was a really cool picture from Mark Zuckerberg when he came off of paternity leave, and he had been away for 4 months, and it was his first day back, and he took a picture in his closet, and he said, decisions, decisions. And meanwhile, his entire closet was the exact same shirt. So why is it that certain people who are really successful, they actually eliminate choices from their life? And it's because they're trying to build a better habit. If you actually make less small and insignificant decisions, you actually allow yourself to make better, important, and more stressful ones. I have one of my cousins, her fiance was in the military, and he was deployed for almost 2 straight years. And I had a great conversation with him about the challenges of reintegrating with society after being away in a war. And he said that the number one thing that's tough, and this is also something that prisoners deal with, your decisions are made for you in the military. You don't decide when to go to bed. You don't decide what to wear. You don't decide what to eat. You don't decide where to be, and you don't decide what to do. Very similar to being in jail. They tell you when the lights go off. They tell you when you can shower. They tell you when you can go outside. They tell you what you're going to eat. You have 0 choices. And when you eliminate all those decisions, what happens is you make better decisions when it matters most. Would you rather the Army officer in the moment during the battle or figuring out what to wear for it? So the goal is that you can break down these habits. You can actually make these choices for yourself so that you don't have to make them every day. I read a great book that I recommend everybody reads. It's called The Power of Habit, and it's from a guy named Charles Duhigg. And he explains what habits really are. Habits are very simple. There's only 3 things. There's a cue, the routine, and the reward. So as an example, every morning, a lot of us have a cue. That's the alarm clock. The routine that a lot of us have when that cue happens is we grab a cup of coffee. The reward for grabbing that cup of coffee is more energy. Well, if you think about that, you're not going to stop the alarm clock from going off, and you're probably not going to want less energy, but what you could change is the routine. So in theory, the alarm clock goes off, you go for a walk, you still get the reward of more energy. So you really want to focus on what is the routine that you do when the cues happen, and then what is the reward and how can you keep that reward? They talk a lot about cravings, and cravings simply are anticipating the reward. So there was this really interesting study in the book about toothpaste. And believe it or not, about 100 years ago, even less, the percentage of people who brush their teeth every day was actually under 7%. That must have been not maybe the best time to be alive. But what happened is this scientist, his last name was Pepsodent, he decided that if we put citric acid, mint oil, and some other ingredients that actually create a tingling effect, people will miss that. They'll miss that. They'll want to feel that tingling. And by the way, for those of you that don't know, the tingling that happens when you brush your teeth, it actually has no effect whatsoever. Another thing that they did later with the toothpaste industry is it foams up, right? You guys know when you brush your teeth, if you brush them real good, it gets more foamy. But the foam has no functionality. The foam and the tingling when we brush our teeth are simply the reward. And within 10 years, toothpaste usage in the United States went to over 65%. A lot of what happens when you try to form a new habit is it comes down to willpower. And willpower is very real. You're either going to win or lose when it comes to willpower. There was another study in the book that Mr. Duhigg looked at, and this came from Stanford. This was called the Marshmallow Test. And they've actually done this in present day where you can go on YouTube and just search the Marshmallow Test. But the idea was they would sit 4-year-olds down at a table, and they would actually give them a marshmallow and leave the room. And they told them, if you don't eat the marshmallow, we will bring you another one when we come back. And what they found is when they tracked these kids down later in life, they found that they had more self-control, better grades, better SAT scores, and better social success. There's actually a whole book called the Marshmallow Test. So it may be something where we don't realize how powerful just simple willpower can be on our lives. In fact, you only have so much willpower each day. There was another really interesting study. This was done at Case Western University. I used to work there, side note, back in the day. But basically, they had students basically fast for one day. And then they brought them in and they gave them 2 bowls of food. One was radishes and one was cookies. And after they ate the bowl that they were assigned, they then had to complete a puzzle. But the catch was that the puzzle that they had to complete was actually impossible to complete. And what ended up happening, which was fascinating, was the people who ate the bowl of radishes, they only spent about 8 minutes trying to complete the puzzle. The people who ate the bowl of cookies actually ended up spending 19 minutes. The 60% disparity was caused by the depletion of the radish eaters' willpower because they had to resist the cookies. This is why you don't want to waste your willpower in the morning on tedious, unimportant tasks like writing emails. So think about that. Your willpower goes down as it gets beat up. I just thought that was fascinating. And I know Jeremy's pumped that cookies are the takeaway. That was his takeaway. Eat more cookies. Now, here's the reason focus and willpower and habits are so important. It actually, in a typical office, I couldn't believe this. In a typical office, a worker only gets about 11 minutes between interruption. But when you get interrupted, you actually end up taking 25 minutes to return with full focus to the original task. So the interruptions that occur cause us to break down, cause us to take time getting back on task. There was a really cool thing the New York Times did, and they basically said, hey, we need you to complete this task, but while you're working on the task, we might interrupt you. And the distraction of the interruption actually ended up taking 20% off their score while they took the test. So they started the test, they were interrupted during the test, and they scored 20% lower than the people who weren't interrupted. So think about that in college. That's like going from a B- to a failing grade. So you getting interrupted causes the quality of your work to go down. Now, what was interesting was The people that they warned, they said, hey, there might be an interruption while you're doing your work. The people that knew there might be one, but the interruption actually never came, they actually outperformed the other people by 43%. So we're never gonna be able to stop thinking that an interruption may come. But Andrew calls this going dark. You know, Jimmy and I do this a lot. Like, hey, I'm turning everything off because I need extreme focus to get the task done that's in front of me. And when you eliminate the option of an interruption, you immediately improve the quality of your work by 20%, at least in this study. So as far as the action items, guys, obviously we all want to have good habits, not bad habits. So part of it is understanding the habits you have now, thinking about what are the cues that cause me to do that task, and then what are the rewards that I get when I do, and can I take something negative out of the middle and insert it with something positive? Time blocking your day. I want you guys all to search this in Google later today. Batching your work. It's called batching your work. Because if you eliminate small decisions like what am I going to wear, what am I going to eat, what am I going to do, it actually creates extreme focus on the ones that matter the most. It also builds better habits, and better habits directly increase the quality of your work. Have a great week, guys. Thanks for your time. Hey, this is Chris. Thanks for listening to my call. If you enjoyed the call, please subscribe right now. Also, share the episode and use the hashtag #CallsWithChris. Every week, I choose a few people randomly to win a free signed copy of the conversion code, my USA Today best-selling book. You can also visit Curaytor.com. That's Curaytor.com to learn more about my company, which is the one I'm running during these calls. We help small businesses grow faster, and we've been featured recently by Inc., Forbes, Fortune, and